Hello and welcome to another episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. My name's Nick Ponte. I'm joined with Stephen Clark. How you doing, Stephen?
Good, mate. Nice one. How's things?
All good, thank you. Busy summer holidays. Got a busy background here, so we're going to try and plough through this next half hour of podcast. But if I need to just jump away, then you know why, because I've got 3 kids running about the house. What have you been up to?
Busy, mate. Yeah, very busy. I've got a few projects on the go that's kind of coming to an end, and it's all these snagging bits right at the end where it's time consuming and you think shouldn't take that long, but do take long. And when the budget's starting to get tighter and tighter, yeah, it starts to get a bit tougher then. So yeah, busy. And my workshop.
Sorry, mate. You've got that cracking project up in Bridget Erne, haven't you? That's close to being completed.
Yeah. Last stages, mate. Yep. I think we should be about maybe 2 weeks away. It's just the annoying little bits needing done now. So it's close. It's very close.
I need to pull you up for something. A pink bathroom.
I'm going to take my hats off and give that to Chris McPherson, one of the joint venture guys on the project. That was his free reign on the ensuite to get creative. And we discussed, I was kind of trying to say to Chris, like when you're looking for flip, projects and how to design that, finishes and all that kind of stuff, you can't go too mental, but you also have to try and appeal to your market audience and who you're looking to sell to. And I decided to choose, we decided to basically choose 3 different variations of bathroom to keep. So if you went all bathrooms traditional, all bathrooms modern, or all bathrooms contemporary, you're going to piss somebody off, or somebody's going to not like the whole lot. So basically I tried to say, well, traditional bathroom downstairs for the main bathroom, upstairs for the bathroom would be like your modern kind of, just greys and blacks and as neutral as you can. And Chris says, you can go a bit, unique with this one. So he totally took it on board, and we're chatting about who we think the final deciding owner is going to be. Now the house is probably going to be about 400 grand. We think it's going to be a professional family, young family that's got some kids. There's a private school nearby. So we think the woman's going to be the decision maker, and the woman's going to be in their maybe early 40s to mid 40s. So I think Chris has hit it on the head for the end user who's going to be the decider. Now, if they go in and love the ensuite and she loves the pink bathroom with the champagne gold, like the fittings, then Chris has done us a huge service. If he hasn't, he's fucked it. But yeah, it was not my taste either.
That's good. There's method behind your madness then, mate. It's at first I think, did you not go like a darker pink, and then or he went a darker pink, and then he put it out to an Instagram poll?
He got told to tone it down. I'm pretty sure the only person that liked the original pink was Maya when she visited it. I think she wanted it for a room.
I guess after a while you must just get bored of doing like greys all the time. Do you know what I mean? So it's good to try something different.
I mean, we were going to go for a green or a blue for it, and I like Chris's idea. And we're talking about who the target. You always try and the other guys on the joint venture. They're trying to talk about their taste, and I keep saying, it's not your taste on a flip project that you've got to look at who the end user is, who's buying it. If I'm, a 25-year-old guy's got like something different from a 44-year-old woman who's got a family, do you know what I mean? The way they design the kitchen. So the way everything gets done, it's always thinking about who the end user is going to be. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. The woman of the family is going to be the one that kind of controls the man to say, yes, I love this house, I want this house. And if that's going to be the emotional attachment to the pink ensuite, then so be it. That was the thinking behind it. So we'll soon find out in a few weeks' time whether it works, whether it flipping sits in the market.
Yeah, well, we're going to be talking about that later on, actually, how the market is. And obviously a good time for selling your flips, and great time to bring it to the market. We've got a couple other things to talk about as well. We've picked out a few news articles to talk about this week because we don't have a guest. So estate agents charging £30 for a viewing, we'll touch on that. Building materials and how they are spiralling out of control as well. We'll go into a bit of that. And so we'll go into that later. But quick catch up from us first of all. You've also got your workshop coming up this weekend, have you?
Yeah, this weekend, mate. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. A bit nervous about it because it's the first 3-day event. So I've dabbled a couple of times with it. I felt like I'd found a bit of the formula, but I felt like the 2 days was putting too much information and trying to cram it into 2 days. So I've stretched out to 3 days. And so once I've kind of tweaked the whole layout and the way it goes, so it feels like kind of doing it for the first time again, which is good. I'm really looking forward to it. And I always start a group chat the week before the event, so all the people that are attending can network with each other, put their introductory videos on there, and it's cool for me to see everyone that's coming on board, because it's quite exciting because you see the people before and what their aspirations are and what they're looking to go at, and afterwards they kind of see what's more, and you can kind of see growth in people's eyes, like, oh wow, I can actually do so much more. I can joint venture, I can raise private finance, and I can get involved in, some people come on and just want to build a buy-to-let portfolio, and they look at the case studies and they go through a day doing flips and they go, shit, fuck that, I want to do flips. So it's really interesting to see how people's mindset change. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'll be a long weekend.
Well, I'm free this weekend, mate, if you need somebody to operate that credit card machine at the back of the room.
Places are sold out, no upsells. But I have been asked you as a guest speaker to come along if you'd love. Would love to have you along, mate.
If you can handle 3 Waynes in the room as well, mate, creating absolute destruction now.
So yeah, what about you? Have you been busy?
I've been doing all right. So picked up after a kind of long drought of not buying anything. Obviously, picked up a wee deal. I think it was last month, which was just something that came to me through a friend actually, and I got it at good, probably 20 grand below the home report, which was unheard of in this location of Glasgow. So was quite happy with that. It took a while to go through. It was just taking ages, and then it was quite nice because you know how like we do like the buy, renovate, refinance quite a lot. This one was just like walk-in condition. So I literally like picked up the keys, took the photos, put it on. Within 2 weeks, I had a tenant moved in, and it was just like so easy. I was like, I quite like this model, although my money's going to be tied up for a while. But at this point of the game where, I'm like, quite well into my investing, I don't necessarily need to recycle that cash. So I'm kind of thinking I might just go and buy 6 or 7 now, just like ready to walk in, but don't need any work done, because it was just a lot less stressful.
It's funny, that's a really, really good point, and we do get a lot of questions with people starting out, and when you do start out, it's so important to make that money work really, really hard for you. You're doing ridiculous amount of hours on the projects to make sure you squeeze the refurb cost down, you get the valuation back up, you maximise that return and cycle that money. But I'm very much the same now. I'm looking at, we've got a purchase of 8 flats going through in a few weeks' time. And exactly the same as what you're saying there now, as much as it's all trying to squeeze the deal down and try and do the renovations, 6 of them are tenanted. There was 7 of them tenanted, so it's bringing in a cash flow and asset from day one. And only one needs a refurb, a light refurb to put back on the market. And I'm more excited about this than any other deal because, like you say, it's just easier. It's cash flow from day one. You're not going involved in stripping wallpaper and ripping out and going through a full renovation as well. So I think maybe that's a place where both and as more experienced investors, as you start to grow, you don't want the kind of, you're going to go for the lower hanging fruit rather than the flipping, the golden goose deals, that all money out deals kind of thing.
Yeah, and like we've had a good couple of months on the sourcing front as well. So with Arc Property, my letting agency, sourcing properties for other investors, working with a guy, actually a really good guy, who's doing the sourcing side of it because he's got more time. So he's been bringing in these deals that they're on the market. They're nothing amazing in terms of a lot of our community would be like, what, that's not a BRRR or anything like that. But it's one of those ones where, if you are an investor, that you're quite happy to park your 20 grand cash and just watch, get a good return, then it's these types of ones, for example, 1-bedroom tenement flats in Glasgow, picking them up for around 65, 70 grand. Rent-wise, you're getting about 500 to 550 in. So good. We've done a couple of them, and the investor clients are happy with them, because they're not able to do anything else really with their cash. It's just basically eroding away in the bank, and inflation now is getting the better of them. Inflation's creeping up, so you might as well, if you can't find anything where you can add the value, you might as well get it parked in an asset,
And I think we focus a hell of a lot on the BRR deals because most people that reach out, listen to the podcast, start off, they want to learn these strategies. So we kind of probably get deluded by the fact that that's what everyone's doing, but not necessarily. I think there's people in different positions where they're running a successful business or they're in a really good high income job. They can afford to park money. They don't need to look for deals like we need to look for. They're not full time in property. They've got other sources of income. They've got their partner maybe on a good wage, whatever it may be. And you touched on that before there as well. Like property prices are looking to rise into double figures. So 12, I think you said 12% in a lot of areas. So if the market's going to go at this for the next couple of years, if you are buying something at home report value, you've got your 25%, increase in the market value. That's effectively you trying to get a discounted property now. So you can play the market. I mean, the only danger is that is if it goes up sharp and then crashes down, and you refinance, you're in negative equity. But if you're happy to part of the money, get your 25% increase, and it drops a little bit, then it is what it is. You're still got a decent asset that you picked up at a decent time, and if you hold long term, you're always going to do well out of property, aren't you?
100%, mate. And part of me was thinking to myself, do you know what? I can wait and wait and wait, try and find the perfect deal, but I could waste like the next sort of 2 years. But I think the market's going to keep rising for the next 2 years at least. And I don't want to get to that 2 year point and go, I've got that money, it's been parked in the bank, I've done absolutely nothing with it, and look at all that gain that I've lost because I've been trying to find the perfect deal. And in my area, it's very difficult. Do you know what I mean? I could change locations, of course, look for other opportunities elsewhere in the country.
Or you could invest that cash into someone else's deals, Nick, and then when the market crashes in 2 years, you're very liquid to then go and buy up fucking everything when there's no one looking at the market to a ton for it, and you can pick up all these 25-30% BMV deals looking to your...
I've told you before, I'm not ready to be a passive investor. I'm just not ready for it.
You're at that age. You're approaching that age. You're getting old now. You can just sit back and put the cash out.
Mate, I've got a bit of life left in me yet. I'm just not ready for it. I would hate to think that you're actually making more money on a deal than me. That's the other thing.
I'd be doing all the daft fucking hard work. They're on a bit like a dafty for it.
Come back to me when I'm 60. And
that's certainly part of my plan as well. And I think a lot of investors I've spoken to recently are the same. You start off hustling for your own investment portfolio and your own deals, and then at some point in your career, you're going to just sit back and go, well, I've got an extra 3, 4, 500 grand. Like, I'm going to invest in other people's deals and other people that are trying to do what we've done and start up in property and stuff like that, and take security, take a charge. What you need to do that, the deal works. Or if you see someone that you like the idea of, then you can invest in their deals. I like the idea of that because when I've been starting to break down the numbers a lot of my portfolio and put them into spreadsheets. When you actually look at the physical return after all the effort, deduction and stuff like that, the investor's the one that fucking wins most of the time out of it. They get the 8-10% return for sitting on their arse and doing nothing and parking their cash in it. So I'd like to be that at some point. But I think
eventually it would be good to do that, obviously. So let's get on to, we've got sort of 3 kind of topics to touch on. We'll just skim through them. So the first one is a news article that I found. It's been quite widely talked about on social media. You might have seen this on your Instagram pages and that. Estate agents to charge £30 for a viewing is the headline. So this one was in the Times newspaper, and then I think it got reported in a lot of other papers as well. And basically what it is it's one of these kind of websites like tech companies. It's called View Rabbit, and they've basically created this platform for estate agents to charge potential viewers for a viewing £30 a time. So I'll just read you out a quick quote. This is from the founder, Michael Riley, its founder, who worked as an estate agency for Savills, came up with the idea after he saw that estate agents were fed up with a high number of people who did not turn up for viewings. During a period of 18 months, Leader Fox, which is an estate agency in England, recorded that 22% of private renters and 15% of buyers did not turn up to book to their booked viewings. So, like, I've got to say that, like, I did do estate agency for about 6 months when I started the Art Property business, and I decided not to pursue it because I wanted to concentrate on the lettings side of things for a while to get that ticking along nicely. But I've got to say, it is really, really frustrating when you are waiting, like I've seen it myself, like 6 o'clock on a Friday night or something like that, and you're waiting for a viewer and they just don't show up. They don't even tell you. So I understand it from the estate agency's point of view, right? But personally speaking, I just don't think it's going to work. I don't think that you can charge people for that because it's just part of the game at the end of the day. What do you think?
First to me hearing that story was when you told me about it there. I can see the point of view from the estate agents if they're getting messed about. booking at viewings or putting a viewing agent and paying them £20 to go and turn up and no one turns up, then they're losing revenue stream on it. So yeah, I get it, but and the market's hot, so if there's ever a time it was going to work and people were going to pay it, it would be now. The obviously Joe public looking for their house will probably view, I don't know, 10 properties, so they might pay a couple £100 to go to viewings, no big deal. But the investor doing this day in, day out, booking in 3 or 4 viewings, 5 viewings a day, that could be a huge expense to someone's business.
That's a good point, actually, because sometimes you go up to Aberdeen, don't you, and you line up like how many, like 8 viewings a day and stuff like that.
I'll just line up, a block book of 7 or 8 viewings in the one day and just hit them out. So it's cost like to drive up to Aberdeen, paying £20 each viewing, and then driving back down, or staying.
You've got like a couple of £100 in viewings, and you might not even get a property. Because I
worked out as well, like one of my ratios. So I was talking about this on the Mastermind group recently. Was I looked at the ratio from property viewings to deals before, and it was like, I'm sure it was 48 properties to get a couple of offers accepted. So you view 48 properties to get a couple deals over the line and get charged £20 a point, £20 a viewing, and that's an expense to factor in your deal.
Let me ask you from a seller's point of view as well. Obviously, you're a developer on that, so if you've got your agent and they're saying to you, right, Stephen, we've got this new system here, we're going to charge people £30 a viewing because we want to weed out the time wasters and that. What's your reaction to that?
Probably not a good reaction, because you want to open the doors to as many people as you can, and that's their service that they're putting on. They're getting their few grand commission when the house sells, so that's how they make their money. I think putting up the time wasters is probably part and parcel of their business.
Exactly. It's just part of the business. They just need to. I just think it's not going to work in Scotland anyway. I don't know about England, but
we're too tight in Scotland. That's why.
Are too tight, mate. Nobody's going to book. They're not going to get any viewings, basically.
And this is why I was saying that in today's market, it might be the only time it will work, because people are desperate to move and desperate to sell, and if they're going to closing dates, and this is probably the only time it would work, and it could be quite a negative effect for investors and developers actually looking for deals. But then I'm wondering as well, with your estate agent, is this where your relationships with estate agents come into play? Because if they know you're an investor and developer, do they charge you for the deals and say, it's okay, I can let the investors and the property professionals view these properties for free, because we know they're not time wasters?
Possibly. That could be a thing, yeah. If we've got this relationship, we know this person's a proven buyer and they've bought from us before, then there could be a lot of come and go. I think where it could work quite well from the estate agent's point of view, if they did want to try and implement this, then maybe a thing like, when you go to a hotel, and you stay in a hotel and they take a swipe of your credit card.
Oh, yeah.
And then basically, if you didn't turn up for the viewing, then you're charged.
I like that. I like that. That seems like a better compromise. We'll swipe credit card that gets refunded if you turn up. If you don't, then it's taken.
Exactly. Maybe that's a compromise, but it's an interesting one anyway.
Interesting. We're talking about estate agents. Like, I had one of my local estate agents that I know really well reached out to me and sent me a deal. First kind of do it upper for a while, and he sent it on to me, and it was nice for him to think of me. And what I found was quite interesting was the first repossessions are starting to flood back through since maybe the court backlog. So that's repossessions and stuff come back on the market. So obviously I said to him, can I get in before the vultures get in, the masses all get in? And he says, it's a usual story. Repossession is, they're going to want the maximum price for it, and as much as we try and look in what for a flip and stuff like that, as much as you can look at how you can maximize the value and base it on the end prices, the ceiling wasn't that much more than it, so it's already inflated. Someone's going to pay over it. It wasn't even worth even bother my time looking at, which is a shame. But at least the relationship's still there with agents.
Yeah, I tell you, a bugbear of mine with estate agents at the moment is they always want to do phone calls, right? And I just don't. I'm not really a fan of calling agents. I know it's probably bad because you're probably thinking, well, it's a good thing to call because you can build a relationship and you get a bit more chat back and forth. But when it's like the big corporates, and really you're not building a relationship really with the corporates, because you're just getting somebody who's an admin who's at the front desk or something like that. So you're never going to meet them out at the actual viewing, or it's different if it's an independent, then you pick up the phone maybe. But just when it's a big corporate, I just like to email and just say, can I have the home report? What's the interest? Can I offer whatever? they're always like, just come back. If you'd like to arrange a viewing, please call the office. And then they try and keep calling you, and it's like 2-3 missed calls. You're like, you've already emailed saying that I'm free at this time to this time, please just arrange. But they want to speak to you on the phone. I presume it's because they want to get more details than that off you, and they want your address, they want to ask you qualifying questions, etc. But it's just annoying when you're busy in your day.
Nah, I completely agree with that as well. What I find quite funny recently, what I've noticed more and more is even like some of the estate agents in Aberdeen, and obviously local, before that I know them locally, is you'll connect with them on social media, so they'll follow you on Instagram or whatever. And I noticed that if they worked at your move or a Remax brand or whatever, they always seem to kind of shift about. So even the employee one that's kind of chasing you up, that you think that you're not really getting a relationship with because she's only answering the phone or she's booking the viewings, they're all moving about. No, she'll become the valuer at another estate agent or whatever. So I think it's quite nice to keep all these relationships going, and and build on them as their career progresses, and so does yours. But it is quite frustrating when you get someone that's kind of maybe new in and just want to pester you for the flipping phone call to get all your details and what you're looking for. You're in a position to buy, and your cash buy or your mortgage is in place. Fuck off.
Aye, it's the same old repertoire, isn't it? And you get a bit drained with it when you're doing so many. And apart from the arrogance as well, there's so many arrogant ones out there as well. It's like they just laugh you off the phone if you even suggest offering lower than the home report value a lot of time. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, we could go on and on about estate agents, and that'll probably do it for that section. Let's go on to the next news article. So this is one that I picked out from the Times as well. We're talking about building materials. So the headline is price explosion has building contractors staring into abyss. So basically, prices of building materials keep rising. There's a shortage of stock of a lot of building materials, and there's no kind of end in sight for builders and contractors. And what this article is actually about is they're finding it really difficult to price for jobs. Now, this focuses on some of the kind of bigger builders that are doing big developments, big flats and all that in the city centres. One of the main things that they're talking about is cement. They're finding it very difficult to get cement. Apparently, that's in a huge shortage. There's a good quote here from a guy called John Newcombe, which is the chief executive of the British Materials Federation. The Building Materials Federation. He said timber and cement have been the biggest concerns of late. When a builder's merchant runs out of cement, it's pretty much like Sainsbury's running out of milk. So I thought that was quite a good way of putting it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I've noticed that a lot recently on the project, cement and timber. Huge shortages, but the price increase has been quite phenomenal recently.
30%, some people are saying.
75 I saw timber. We done the dormer at Bridge Erne, and the 6x2s, I think it was £8 plus VAT a length. By the time we had to go and order extra and finish off the roof, like weeks later, it was £17 plus VAT on the same length of timber. So there's huge increases. And I mean, that only sounds like a few quid, but you're buying umpteen lengths, or you're building a building site, or you're developing houses. Like there's a huge knock-on effect on your material costs. We've noticed huge increase in even plumbing materials. One of the guys was saying to me the other day that we've been focusing on this quite a bit the last few weeks, because I find this is very important. Like, we speak about property education being like really theory-based driven, and people come off a course and they've got all this fucking theory in their head, and I think if you're not doing deals day in, day out, or projects, this is where shit could go wrong for people in property. Because if you've based your refurb based on what your knowledge or experience or your builder's cost was a few months ago, or quotes you received a year ago or a couple of years ago, you got your experience from it, and you're not paying attention to what's happening in the market, you're going to get your prices incredibly wrong. Now a great example of that is Bridge Erne, but on the flip side, the market's increasing hugely as well. So if you're selling something, chances are you're probably going to do all right. Your increase in material, your extra 5 or 6 grand you spent in material is going to be on the back end that you're going to get a closing date and get offer over. But if you're renovating a 1 or 2 bedroom flat, a house to add to your portfolio, and you're getting an end value at 100 grand, doesn't matter what you're doing. That market's not inflated. That value is just giving you the valuation on instructed by your lender at the back end. So if you've got an extra £6,000 increase in materials on the back end of that project, you're leaving £6,000 in it. If you're already leaving £6,000 in it, does it kill your deal? Does it fuck your deal? Do you lose money? Do you leave too much in it? Does it stunt your growth going forward? So I think with projects like this, it's going to be so crucial to make sure that you get it right.
Yeah, 100%. And we're hearing of builders going back and repricing jobs because in this article here, the guy was getting quoted saying, you know, like the quotes are only really valid for 24 hours because like the next day materials could shoot right up. Now, if you're doing a smaller project, it doesn't have a huge impact. But these guys that are working on these bigger sites, you know, you're talking about, you know, 100x in that, you know, over a bigger site, and it's going to be quite significant. But
when you look at these changes in the timber, like, you know, £8 plus VAT to £17 plus VAT, like that's a huge difference. Massive. If you're like one of the plumbers was saying to me the other day on the call that the same kind of stuff he gets for fitting out bathrooms, it's like, you know, the same length of pipes, the same amount of fittings. He just goes into Screwfix and he gets it. It's usually 60 quid. It's now 100 quid. And he was like, what the hell? So he tried to go to a plumbing merchant and they were the same. It was 105 or 110 quid. And it's always about the 60 quid. It's what he buys. He's got his little pack and he just goes and gets for fitting out a bathroom. So there's another 40% increase in plumbing materials. So you're looking at 70, 75 in timber. You've got 100 in flipping cement. You know, these increases aren't these small increases. They're not just 5 or 10%. They're massive. Now, how's that going to affect inflation? I don't know, because to me, if things like that are shooting up and food's shooting up,
that is pretty much inflation, isn't it? That's inflation taking effect pretty much. And some people are saying that it's transient, so short-lived, you know, because you've had this problem, supply issues. So there's been a break in the supply chain with COVID. This is now filtering through. Some people are saying, oh, it's going to come back. You know, the prices will be all right by November. I find it
hard to believe. I think that once you set the new barrier of what people are expected to pay for a length of timber, a plumbing fitting, you know, whatever it is, turf was another one that went up quite a bit. Whatever it is, that's going to be the new prices. And we've seen that the Bridget Earn project's been quite a you know, project that's been right in the mix of it, right as the prices have been increasing the last few months. Now, it's not all down to our spend, but our spends went from 60 grand and we're going to hit 100 grand this week. So,
wow. So say that again, from 60 grand to what?
To 100 grand. Aye. And that's not all, that's there's quite a few factors involved in that. The first one was when we first got it, we went for a more creative layout change and more steel and a dormer and stuff like that. So we went a little bit. We knew we could push the price envelope and the ceiling value at the price, so we decided to spend a little bit more than anticipated. But even that, you know, and then we went for high end finish. We went for the his and her sinks and marble tops and herringbone floor and
pink
stuff.
Paint, mate. It's the pink paint that blew the budget.
You know, you've kind of you've got all these spend, but the material spends have definitely had an effect on it. I would say probably by about 8 or 9 grand on the project.
Do you know what I love about that though, right? You'll probably still generate 100 grand profit, right? Because you're just a fluky bastard.
Not on the market, mate. It's not on the market.
But what I love about that is, right, it's and you'll be the first to say this as well. You know, I bet you it's been a great learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always lessons to learn out of every project you do and everyone you get involved in, and each joint venture that you do, and you partner with different people and different skill sets. You learn and grow each time. So
so I'm like you on the building materials. I think it's very difficult once they get so high to a price for them to come back right down to the level that they were pre. You know, it's very difficult for the market to react like that. The only way that it would do that is if there's this massive kind of oversupply then. Do you know what I mean? And they were struggling to get rid of the materials. But because the housing industry, the builders are so active at the moment, there's huge developments happening everywhere. Everything's booming. I just can't see that demand dropping off a cliff.
Yeah, this is what I'm wondering. I don't know if you've looked into this, but for the likes of a flip project like I'm doing, the market's increasing, so the market price is dictating the end value and the end price that I'm going to achieve for this property. So supply and demand's looking like I'm going to do okay at it. So the predicted end values that I thought on the Bridge Earn ones is probably went up about 75 to 100 grand. So this extra spend's going to get absorbed, going to make a little bit more money. It's fine. But what about national house builders that have set their price at, you know, their 5-bed houses, 300 grand, the 4 beds, 245, whatever it may be. These price points have been set. If you've got an increase in material costs of 30, 40%, how much is that knocking onto the house house builders, like surely they're going to put a little knock. I mean, even if it's 5 or 10% on the price of the new build house, and then obviously that's a knock-on effect for the rest of the stuff on the market as well. You see that happening?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a really good point. I never really thought about that. And I'm presuming that because they're operating at scale, their margins are probably going to be, I don't know, a bit tighter as well. So, like, they're not going to be making as much as you just on a single flip, probably. Because
obviously, because mine is not set up front. And this is where I think that I lost on the Kinross project, the last one, because the market was going nuts, and I took the easy, quick sale, didn't know where the market was going, and probably could have got 30 grand more for it. I'm not going to make this mistake this time, but if the builders have fixed their prices on their sites and people have signed up to it, and paid the deposit or signed their miss, and now that these houses are getting built, did they did they honour it? Did they? I'd be interested to hear anyone else's thoughts if that's actually happening.
Well, let's try and get somebody on from a big builder, because that'd be a really good discussion. How have they managed to weather this kind of craziness of building materials shooting through the roof, and also labour as well. There's huge labour shortages out there. So not only the price of materials going up, the cost of labour, and nobody can get any tradesmen. So these big builders are going to have problems with that, and the price of tradesmen and labour is going through the roof as well. I mean, I was trying to get somebody to do a bathroom there the other day.
I've got a funny story for you, by the way, when you tell this story, because I got a screenshot from a plumber in Dunfermline sending me, "Is that not your mate?" Nick's put something on a forum of trades or whatever, saying, "Look, I'm looking for a reliable plumber. I've got 100 properties under management, blah, blah, blah." And the guy screenshot and sent it to this fucking plumbers group and says, "Oh yeah, here's another guy that's trying to tell us he's got 100 properties and give us loads of work." And I just replied to my friend, I was like, "He does. He's got fucking over 100. Like, he genuinely does." Fucking look him up. Look up the podcast. He's got a follow on. He's got properties, and these guys were like, "Oh yeah, here we fucking go. Someone trying to get you to do a job and stuff." And I was like,
"That's hilarious, mate. That's so funny." But yeah, I mean, I don't blame them from their point of view. I bet you they get like time wasters as well all the time. Maybe they should start charging £30 a quote. Do you know what I mean? So anyway,
it's ridiculous, though, isn't it? Like, to try and get trades, to get people in. I've got a project on hold in Aberdeen for a tiler. 6 weeks I've been waiting on a tiler in Aberdeen. Now, it wasn't bothering me. I wasn't too precious about it. It's a 1-bed flat. The delay's a delay. It is what it is. It's I'm not fussed. But what's happened is the knock-on effects. We've got a shortage of cash coming in for this 8-flat portfolio that's getting bought. So it's like, shit, this now needs to get done. So the knock-on effect of me not having a tiler and pushing this tiling job on, which I'm probably going to end up doing myself this week when I'm up in Aberdeen, is the bathroom can't get fitted, the valuation can't come out, the money can't get released from the cash can't get released to then go and put into this portfolio purchase. So the knock-on effect of just one trade is quite catastrophic in a property business. And obviously they'll just be thinking, "Oh, it's cool, the project's delayed a few weeks, it is what it is, it's no biggie," but the biggie to somebody's business is quite a lot.
Yeah, no, good point. And I was just getting back to my bathroom there that I was trying to get prices on. So so I put it out to emailed, I don't know, must have been about 10 or 12 different people on Facebook and then websites that I found in Glasgow. And one guy got back to me and said, "Yeah, it's like a 3-month wait or something like that, booked out for 3 months," which is quite a common response we're getting at the moment. And my price is £250 a day. And I was like, right, okay, £250 a day, okay, fair enough, but I'm not paying somebody a day rate. I learnt that lesson the hard way a while back. I would advise anybody who's listening at the moment, if somebody's trying to charge you by the day or on time, then I would proceed very carefully, because the job just grows arms and legs, and it just runs on and on and on, and they are not motivated to get that job done. Much better just getting a price for the job. Do you agree?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, I've done that a lot of times over the years. It's price per hour, price per day, and it's fine when you're starting out and you can be on site and you can micromanage. But if you've got other projects in the go, or you've got another business or another job, yeah, be very, very wary of it, because especially if you're not experienced, it's easy enough to say, "Yeah, okay, I know how long it'll take to fit a kitchen. I'll pay a couple of days," and you know that they're going to take 500 or 600 quid. That's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than getting some of them for £3,000. But if they just start dragging it on and run into this problem, run into that, and they can pull the wool over your eyes, then your price that you anticipate to pay is going to double quite quickly.
Yeah, so, unless you've got trust there, and you know the person really well. Yeah. Right. Okay.
On that topic, actually, and this is we've got a podcast getting released, I think, in 2 weeks' time with the guys from Rood Group, Laurie and Alex from Falkirk and Grangemouth way, and they started a development company. It's something I've been thinking about for a couple of months and dropping the hints with the guys in the mastermind group, like who wants to do it, like come on guys, do it. And there's quite a lot of discussions going on, and it's been stuff that floated about as chats, but looking at what they guys are doing as well, there's a method to that madness. There, as much as I think it would open up a whole stress and a whole lot of issues as well. If this market's going to go the way we think it's going to go for the next 2 years, and we still want to do developments or renovations, then it might not be a bad shout if you were looking at hiring guys full time to take on your projects, because the struggle's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout. Then the problem is, like Laurie was saying, like I think they had got there was a COVID outbreak or something like that, and then all the guys had to go off for 10 days, and you've got all that to deal with. And now you've got the pingdemic. Don't know if you've heard of it. I think it's more in England where they've all got this app, and it's like everybody who's employed wants to get the app because they all want to get pinged because they all want to get 10 days off their work. Do you know what I mean? It's craziness. It's mad.
No, that's right.
So, right, okay, moving on to our last news story of the day. So, this one was in the Telegraph online, and the headline is "Why Scotland's Property Market is in a Bubble That Will Burst." Oh, no shit, Sherlock. Do you know what I mean? We're in a bubble that's going to burst. It must have taken a while to write that headline. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's pretty much guaranteed that every bubble's going to burst eventually. We all know that, and with every boom is going to come a bust. So, like, basically what they're saying is here that agents have warned of a property bubble in Scotland with buyers paying 40% over the asking price. So, in Glasgow, that's been quite common, especially in places like in the West End or, Jordan Hill. And I think that this article probably focuses quite a lot on rural areas in Scotland and how, with the working from home now, people are actually, moving out of being close to the city centre, and because they just need a decent broadband connection. That can be another issue, but they just need an internet connection. They can basically live anywhere now, and being that kind of central spot is no longer that important. So I think there was a quote here. I'll just read out this bit here. They spoke to a guy from Savills, an estate agent from Savills, and basically says it's 100% about lifestyle, this kind of rise in these properties. He says the post-lockdown shift to home working has also brought relocators from further afield, along with second home buyers. Right, this is an interesting point. This is happening a lot. In the west of Scotland, 60% of Savills deals. Now, it's important to say that Savills generally, they're doing these big kind of like country, like mansions, aren't they? These big properties a lot of the time. So they concentrate on that. But 60% of their deals so far this year were to buyers from outside Scotland, primarily England. Before the pandemic, the share was 40%. So that's an increase of 20% of basically English buyers and some foreign as well. For the most expensive homes, buyers were paying 10% over Home Report. The amount the property is valued at by surveyors. Obviously, they're trying to explain to English people what a home report is. And the maximum that banks will lend to for country property, buyers offering 20% to 30% over the price has been common. So this is quite common now. So a lot of the big question is, people when they're buying property, they're like, how much do I offer over Home Report? And there you go. You can be up to like 40% over in some cases. But it's interesting there about a lot of English buying second homes. So a lot of like London people, buying like I mean, how much do you reckon, your Bridge Erne property, for example, something like that, what's that going to value at, the end value?
425 maybe.
Right, so even like that, now that's, for a lot of these big earners down in London, these high flyers, that's pretty much peanuts. Do you know what I mean? They probably will fund most of that buying cash. So you're getting a lot of people down London coming up to Scotland buying these second homes, spending half the time up in Scotland, maybe in some of these kind of more kind of, rural by the sea and stuff like that, more remote areas. A lot of the locals are raging. My mum stays up in Inverness. I've got family up in Inverness and Nairn, right, where people are struggling to get on the property ladder because of all these, like, I've got English friends, by the way. I'm not anti-English at all, but a lot of these English buyers coming up, if you go up to Inverness and you walk into the Tesco's there, like, every second person's English. There's so many English up there now. It's crazy. This is not an anti-English man, by the way, but
it's God's country.
This is happening, absolutely.
It's funny because I spoke to a couple of estate agents recently, and the guy local came out to Perth from Perth to view the Bridge End project, and he was saying exactly the same thing. He said a lot of these properties are getting snapped up by either English or Edinburgh buyers, and what he was basically saying was that, and we'll kind of have a chat about the way the world's going and the way people are living, and it's kind of, you know, as we see around us, people are working from home, and their companies aren't even bothering about bringing them back, or they're maybe bringing them back 1 or 2 days, or they're work from Teams or Zoom, and because they've done so for the last year and a half, they're probably saving on their space and their big huge office space, and going to make a plan to downsize or give up their lease, and then let the majority of their staff work from home. So that's put your people that need to stay in London city centre to make 100 grand a year go, fuck it, I can go and live in rural Scotland and go and sit on my paddleboard every day and you know, work from the laptop. So I think that this is changing the way people are working and living. Like they're noticing that as a Tim Ferriss book, the 4-hour working week, you know, you can work from anywhere in the world type thing. I think this is becoming a reality because employers are probably seeing that it's possible to work remotely and have their staff working remotely. I think the only way I see that going wrong is it's probably training staff in a new job where they need to be there and learn stuff. But apart from that, if that's the way the world's going and people are spreading out in more rural locations, and Scotland's going to become a big hotspot for buyers.
Yeah, and it's a huge shift. I mean, because, you know, people who had a high stress, you know, city lifestyle, they are kind of, like you say, they're reevaluating their lives, and they're like, is this really worth it? Like you say, go and sit on a paddleboard. I like that idea of a paddleboard.
It's a nice time, and like part of my plan now as the market's getting hot, and it has been for the last couple of years, was to sell off the last of the properties in my own personal name, and directors loan the money into the company, and then start buying more assets when the market crashes just to be more liquid. But you know, a couple of the ones I've got are more rural, and they would have struggled to sell a couple of years ago. They would have sat on the market. I wouldn't have got what it's now. Now looking at the market, I'm probably getting 30-40% more. So I think timing these things are going to be quite crucial if you're looking to sell or buy. Be wary of it, because it's going to be cycles. As much as it's going up just now, it is going to go back down at some point.
Yeah, and this article also, it brings some stats, you know, in terms of, you know, house price rises as well. I'll just bring you a couple quickly. So in the last sort of set of results that we've got, the last data that we got up to May 2021, because it takes a while for the prices to filter through by the time they get registered, etc. So it runs a little bit behind. But in May alone, in a single month in Scotland, the average house price rise 5.9% in 1 month. Over the last 12 months from May 2021 up to May 2021, from May 2020 to May 2021, it's on average, 12.1% over the whole year. But that month of May was just mental. Do you know what I mean? So it's interesting to see what June's figures are. I'm going to give you a wee surprise here, mate, because I'm always slagging off Aberdeen and saying how it's like always like, you know, everywhere else in the country is going up 12%, and Aberdeen's still in the red.
I'm sure it's still went up 6% or something like that, or something.
No, it has. Aberdeen's doing really well now, actually. So, like, in these stats are taken from the government website, gov.uk, the ONS, Office of National Statistics, can't pronounce that. Aberdeenshire is up 7.8% over the year up to May. So 7.8. This is it. This is where we go back to where I think that the increases are in the kind of family homes, the bigger properties. You know, obviously Aberdeenshire is like, most of it is like rural properties, isn't it? Kind of like smaller villages and all that. Probably city centre stuff is probably still struggling.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, I think with statistics like that, they're always so far behind. Like, it takes so long for them to get that data. And if you're listening to the data and that's how you're making your investment decisions or what you're looking to do, you're going to be quite far out of touch. I mean, if that's a year's statistics and it takes them 6 months to produce them, your data's a year and a half out of date. So if you're not your fingers in the ball on fingers in the pulse on these things, then you're kind of getting left behind.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I like the stats. I've got to say, just to finish off with the highest price
You've been reading a hell of a lot of articles, haven't you? You've been reading a lot of newspapers, mate.
I've just got a lot of free time in my hands. So. No, I don't. Inverclyde, which is like Greenock area, Port Glasgow, which is where we see all these flats for $5,000 and all that. That's actually the highest riser at 20.2% price growth. But again,
of course it would do.
Inverclyde again,
$9,000. That's a huge increase.
Aye, totally. Aye. So Inverclyde again is like a huge area. It takes in a lot of lovely areas round about kind of Gourock and Greenock and all that as well. A lot of lovely big properties as well. So you've got a lot of sailing going on down there, a lot of coastal properties. So you can imagine I was going to say foreign buyers, but I mean English buyers going mad for those types of properties as well. So yeah, I thought it was just interesting. Anyway, we better wrap up, mate, because that's 45 minutes we've been waffling on.
Holy shit, I thought it was going to be our 20-minute catch-up, quick podcast, catch-up, news articles, shoot the shit, and away we go.
Exactly.
We can talk properly all day long, mate. We can talk this all day long.
Where can people continue the conversation?
So they can, you've put this live on the Facebook group page. If anyone wants to ask any questions on any of the stuff we've chatted, I'm pretty inactive in it at the moment because I've been so busy. But at night time I do pop up my phone and try and catch up. So if anyone's got any questions or any stuff they want to share, opinions, add to what we've been talking about, contradict us, then happy to do so. Also
tag us on Instagram, myself and Stephen Clark. So Stephen Clark Property, Nick Ponte, and we will take the screenshot, put it on our stories, and thank you publicly as well. So yeah, we really appreciate the support, guys, and see you again next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay.